What's going on, guys? So today we're talking about another new SOG. All right, this one is the Trident AT-XR. All right, very cool knife. Lots to talk about. I kind of briefly showed this recently in my Carnivore Club unboxing and taste test, and I did mention there's a lot to talk about, and there is a lot to talk about. This is a knife that I absolutely love. I am very impressed with it. I think it's really cool. I like this one even more than the Aegis. I think the Aegis is a nice upgrade from the old one. However, I have such a huge pet peeve with this knife, and I'm like literally shaking my head like, why did you do that? Why? So I'm gonna get to that, of course, later in the video. So first off, I just want to show you the box. Same thing, all these XR line of knives have these big old cool presentation boxes, little corner cutouts, nice, open position here. I say the box because, it gives you a quick little breakdown of what's going on here. Saves me a little time, all right, and trying to memorize these things, all right. So we have a Cryo D2 stainless steel blade. I think that's 3.7 inches. I do remember some specs, but of course you could read that. And then here's a little tidbit on the bottom with some more specs, 5.15 ounces, which it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels more like maybe 4 ounces. And then a quick little blurb there. They kind of break these down as well, like they're saying this is in the professional line as opposed to like EDC or outdoor or whatever else they write. I don't know what makes this a professional's knife. I mean, it's a little bit more geared towards perhaps a military person, maybe an EMT, because the big catch with the Trident is it has that cutout for the strap cutter feature, which we're going to talk about. But anyway, so that's the information on the box. All right, I didn't show this with the Aegis, but if I zip it, and by the way, when you stack these, they're really nice too, for storage purposes, because you have all the information right at the end. But anyway, if you take the box completely apart, there's also a paper inside. Gives you more great information on using the lock, opening, closing, things like that. All right. Also, you can see the pocket clip is swappable, so they give you a little tidbit on how to, swap those. So that's very cool. So it always pays to kind of look around, because when I first got these, I never even noticed that information was in there, even though it says product info, and there's a little cutout for your finger. Stick your finger in there, flip it over. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not as observant sometimes. So all that to the side, let's get back to the knife itself. Let's get a quick little zoom in on this. Now there's a few different versions of this knife. This one is the OD green, which you could fool me. I would call that black. 9 out of 10 times when I look at this knife, it looks black. Even right now I have decent lighting and it's barely green. It is so dark green, that the really kind of olive green color that you get in the double thumb stud and the side lock, that comes across more as OD green. So to me, and probably, you watching the video, it looks like black handle, green hardware, accents, whatever. But it's not the case. This is just very dark green. This is a slightly lighter olive type green. The other version, and I want to say there's more variants of the other version, is black with red. And the red really pops. And I think the red is something that you're going to either love or hate. In fact, I had someone who I do trades with all the time, and I said I have a Trident, and they're like, oh man, I want it, and we're trying to work out a deal and everything, and he's just like, I really hope you have the version I want. And I'm like, well, which one do you want? He's like, I want the black and red. Like, of course, no, I don't have that one. I have the olive green one, but the black and red, the red really pops. I have to say that. It really does kind of stand out. Black and red's always cool. I have a few different knives that have black and red together, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. As far as color combinations, it is classic. It is kind of a classic combo there, but I just think it gets a little boring over time. But anyway, just want to point that out in case you're not into this super dark green thing going on. If you do want something a little bit different, want something to pop, the black and red, which is more common for this model, is an option. So this also has the same lock as I talked about with the Aegis, all right, where we have well, I shouldn't say lock, it's a safety. The actual lock, of course, is on the side. So it's an assisted knife, as you can see. All right, there is a spring in there. Once it's locked open, the actual lock is truly ambidextrous, and this whole knife is truly ambidextrous, just like the Aegis was. So you could swap the clip. It is a deep carry clip, but that can be swapped to left side. Obviously, you have the lock exposed equally on both sides, You have double thumb studs on both sides, and the safety is on the spine. So if you're lefty, you have the exact same controls than you do if you're righty. So keep that in mind. For all the lefties out there, this is extremely lefty friendly. But going back to the safety, which I sometimes, interchangeably call the lock, and it's not. It's kind of a lock for the lock, but it's really the safety. And this is the same as the Aegis. I have the same gripes with it doesn't get in the way at all when I'm holding the knife, but it's a little squishy. All right, obviously this is off because we see the red, so that will shoot out. Push it down here, now it's on, so it will not open. It's a nice feature. Now, when I talk about the pocket clip a little bit later, that's where the safety really comes in handy. Where on the Aegis, I'd remove it. I wouldn't really care. On this knife, I want that safety for a reason, but I'm not gonna get to that quite yet. But I did want to point out the fact that it's a little squishy. You can definitely get it in a middle position where it's kind of like, okay, well, is that locked, unlocked? See that? I don't know if you noticed, but I was tugging on it, it was locked, and then it unlocked. Because it's right in the middle. And it actually flipped down while I was tugging on it. So let me try to get that to happen again. So it's in the middle, tugging on it, and there you go. It goes into the unlock position. So you have to make sure if you want this locked, that's pure, very securely engaged. I almost said purely engaged. Now if I tug and tug and tug and tug, it's not going to actually rock that back. Okay, so it is very much secured. But when it's in that half position where you can kind of fiddle it out. So that's definitely noteworthy. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a more secure like snap and not be able to get into some kind of middle position where it's both on and off at the same time, some weird combination. As far as the ergonomics, phenomenal. Now I thought the Aegis was nice. This thing is ridiculously comfortable. With a little caveat, the deep concealed clip, I can feel it. Now I didn't really get a hot spot per se. When people talk about hot spots, maybe people have different ideas of what that means. For me, that means it actually irritates my hand. There's many levels of comfort, right? So this is very comfortable. If I took the pocket clip off, it would be amazing. It's like next level comfort. But I do feel that pocket clip just a little bit towards the bottom here. There's no real sharp ends on it. All right, we have a huge cutout in the middle, so it almost feels kind of like a wire clip, similar to the Spyderco wire clips. So, it's there, but in using the knife, it never got raw, it never rubbed me so much that I'm like really noticing it. It's just when I'm critiquing it, when I'm really gripping it hard, I'm like, yeah, that could cause a problem, but it never really did in the usage that I got out of this knife. So, it might or might not be a concern for you. Let's talk about the blade a little bit here. All right, we have a 3.7 inch, again, cryo treated D2 blade, worked totally fine. This one is coated, all right. There are, if you can see a couple marks here and there, little scrapes and scratches. Actually, this cleaned up very well. I had a bunch of tape residue on there. That wiped off fairly easily, but there's nothing you could do. I mean, depending on the different types of coating, some last longer than others, but they all eventually deteriorate. If you don't like seeing scratches on your blade, probably want to stay away from any kind of coated blade. You want to go with definitely stone wash. Those hide the scratches the most, but even something like a satin blade will hide those a lot better than a coated blade. All right. I always love the look of the Trident. This still has the feel of an original Trident. Very cool, aggressive blade, a little bit like upswept towards the front. Has a nice acute point, so it actually can do some finer cutting with that tip. A little bit of belly, just very versatile EDC style blade, really. I think it's great for a lot of people. It is very comfortable, as I mentioned, for the ergos, but there's also jimping on the spine of the blade. All right, let me zoom in and show you that. So you can see this is actually very functional jimping, okay, all the way from here to here. So if you are holding the knife down here, you could feel that, but if you kind of choke up and really put your thumb high, it's even more aggressive. You could feel a lot more of it because you don't have the frame kind of interfering with that. So having your thumb up, I mean, your hand is really, really locked in. And that brings me to my next point, and that is the texture on this knife. This entire handle has very aggressive texturing, okay? This is like, well, I shouldn't really say very. I should say just aggressive. This is not quite Emerson sandpaper, but it's close. It's like if you took an Emerson knife and then hit it with like 1,000 grit paper just to knock off that bite, just a little bit, that's what this feels like to me. It's not quite, grip tape, skateboard grip tape or anything like that, but it's close. It is very close, and it's on both sides. You get full contact with that texturing. Okay, so that's something to think about. Now we're going to talk about what I can't stand about this knife, okay? It actually became a real concern for me. Now, I actually posted a picture of this on Instagram, and to ask people, like, I showed it like this against like a Halloween decoration I have, and people spotted it right away. So I'm going to do the same thing with you guys. What is the problem? What do you see the problem is from this angle of the knife? Any guesses? I'm sure a lot of you guys know what's up. You know what's going on here. Well, in case you don't, the pocket clip, as we know, deep conceal carry clip, it's a short little run, and it has to be a short little run because it can't really go over this cutout. If you don't know, what the cutout and the handle is for is to allow that blade to be exposed to be used as a strap cutter. And this does work very well. This cut through seatbelt very, very easily, okay, when the seatbelt was taut. I want to do a demo on film here, but it's kind of hard because I have to have that seatbelt material taut. Like if it was actually on you and stuck, it would be in a locked position, so it's tight. Now if I just hold it on the table here, there's no rigidity, so you go to slice through it, it just wiggles with the knife, right? What I'll do when I'm testing any kind of seatbelt cut tests is I'll put the strap under my foot, hold it with my other hand nice and tight, and then have a more of an accurate situation of what it would be like, and then you can zip through. Any decently sharp edge is going to cut right through it. And this does perform very well for that task. So that pocket clip cannot be, past that, because then the material would just hit the pocket clip. But as you can imagine, what happens here, and I actually grabbed a little piece of paper so I can give you a demo, is as you're putting this into your pocket, the material has a very large, that's not the right word, it has a very high capability of wrapping inside this little area and cutting your pants, okay? So that is an issue. That is certainly a concern. So when you're putting this in the pocket, and I've done this with multiple different types of pants material, from cargo pants to, I had like basketball shorts, pajamas, both like sweatpants and regular pajamas. When you have soft material, almost every time, like just floppy soft material, like I said, like pajama pants or basketball shorts, every single time I went to just, put this in the pocket, it would want to wrap around. It would catch this corner here and want to wrap around in this channel. Now, if you weren't looking and you just went to go put this in the pocket, you have a likelihood of literally just cutting the seam of your pocket, which would obviously not be good. Now, that being said, I never cut my pants, but there's a probability that you could cut your pants, okay? Now, in addition to having the possibility of your pants material being literally cut from the strap cutter, my other major issue is that the pocket clip is sitting directly on this rough texture. I have no idea why they did this. It makes it even harder. So once you overcome this little, danger zone, now you have a clip that's, semi-stiff, but it's sitting on this rough material. So the pants material, when you put it in your pocket, there's a lot of friction there. You know what I'm saying? I think it was a huge missed opportunity to make this area flat. Like if you look here where the kind of finger choil cutout is, that's smooth, that's not textured. Why couldn't they, when they were designing this, I have no idea what the manufacturing process is to create these handles. I don't know if they're, injection molded or if something cuts it out. I have no idea. But because there is a smooth area in here, I don't know why this entire section wouldn't be smooth. So that when you finally get over the leap of death, where you're going to ruin your pants, once you catch on that clip, wouldn't you want it to be smooth so it quickly finds its way into the right area? It's just, that's crazy to me. Now, all that being said, I really don't see how they could have put a pocket clip on here with the strap cutter in a better way. I just don't see it unless it was tipped down. That's the only thing I can see. Because there's a strap cutter on here, I think that's the only really way to go, is to have it a tip down option. It's just one of those things. I mean, like I said, I purposely, putting this knife on, I purposely guided my pants pocket into where it was supposed to be. And then once it was on, it was fine. And it carried fine, it actually carried very well. Even though there's grip there, it didn't take too much to get that out. But it's like, it's a concern, and I know most people don't want to like really, really pay attention when they're putting the knife in their pocket. They don't want to have to worry about cutting their pocket. That's a concern here. So I get, though, that the Trident, it was kind of like one of those, key features. That's what the Trident was all about, right? You have this cutout for a strap cutter. Now, I would love, absolutely love to see this knife, instead of two different colors, I would love to see it in this style, and I would also love to see it without the strap cutter. You know, you can keep this, you know, short throw, little deep conceal clip. It's awesome, but get rid of that option. You know, if you're gonna have a pocket clip on here, I think that strap cutter should not exist. That's just my opinion, but I get it. So all that being said, having this knife, all right, this one's probably gonna be up for trade now that I've used it and everything and did a video on it. But if I were to carry this long term, I would just ditch the clip completely. Okay, and that's why I'm going back to saying that I would want this safety. Without this being clipped to my pocket, with this being kind of loose in there, that's when I would really want to have that safety so it doesn't accidentally come open in the pocket. All right, so that's where that really kind of plays an important role. Being clipped to your pocket, I don't see it being an issue. It's not going to accidentally open, okay? So that's why I mentioned in the Aegis video that I would just remove that because it's annoying. It's just annoying to have, but same thing with this one. When I'm holding it in this grip, I don't feel that at all. It doesn't exist, even though it's poking out of the back of the frame. When I have a natural grip on this, the knife is big enough where if I hold it here, I don't feel it. If I choke up just a little bit over here, I feel it just a little, you know, in my palm, but it's not digging, even with like a really hard grip, it's not digging in. So it's not creating any kind of annoyance or discomfort. But again, I would take that pocket clip off, totally remove the chance of accidentally cutting my pants. There is a, in the back spacer here, it's integrated in with a lanyard hole, okay? So if you had to loosen the pocket, you could have a long lanyard, a functional lanyard that's hanging outside the pocket so you can just grab it to retrieve it quickly. So that's really nice. Also, this has a glass breaker. I don't know if you even noticed throughout the video, but there's a cool little carbide tip that's impregnated into the top of the handle here, which is very nice. So if you did need to break glass, that's again, the whole thing here is like the emergency knife. Every single day, it would just be your knife, right? You'd open it, you'd cut things, whatever. But if you got into a car crash or some kind of random situation where you need to break glass, you can easily break glass. If you need to cut your seatbelt off, you can easily cut your seatbelt off. So that's kind of where this design is going. And that's why, obviously, they had to keep this strap cutter feature. But I don't know how they could have put a pocket clip on this end and not had the same problem. I don't know. I mean, if the pocket clip was half as long, it might not even be that functional. I don't really know, but I'd probably prefer it. If it ended here, if it was literally half as long and maybe redesigned a little bit to work better, I guess, being so tiny, I just don't want it anywhere near there. It's just crazy to me that you're trying to get your pants material under this clip. But almost every time, I mean, with a stiffer pant, like, you know, with jeans, I wear jeans once with this knife, and then the cargo pants, a little bit stiffer, it was easier to get in there. But with the soft material, you know, it was so floppy, I literally, as I'm putting it in my pocket, it's like, it just goes right to that channel. And that scares me, because like I said, there's a likelihood that someone out there gets this knife and they're not paying attention. They go to put it in their pants and they think it's on the clip, and then they push down and it's just cutting their pants. What the heck, SOG? So that's my only gripe with this knife. If you take the pocket clip off and you don't mind a clipless knife, maybe, I don't know, it's in a bag or something, or you just don't mind it loose in your pocket, that's awesome. Also, if you're not carrying this pocket and you carry this as a backup knife on a range bag or an EDC bag or a bailout bag or whatever, and you just put it, you know, one of your molly straps or whatever, clip it to a strap, then that's not a big deal. You can put it in there once and it sits there, it sits securely, there's no issue at all. But it's the people who are like EDCing these knives and you're carrying them day in and day out and using them all the time. You know, every time you go to put the knife away, you're just like, you gotta really look and really pay attention to make sure to get, okay. You know what I mean? I can just definitely see that becoming an annoyance. And it's a shame because this is a very, very cool knife. It's very comfortable. It looks aggressive. It works very, very well. The D2 is awesome. Like I said, the texture, the grip is great. The handle is very, very comfortable. It's just that pocket clip strap cutter combo issue. That's my biggest issue with this knife. That is its biggest pitfall, in my opinion. But you know, some people just don't care. Whatever, I'm not gonna cut my pants, I'm just gonna pay attention. And that's cool. If you're that guy, this is definitely a knife worth checking out. By the way, these sell for about $100, $95, somewhere in that range. I think it's enough knife to justify that, totally. But I know the community, I know you guys, I know what you're thinking. And you're thinking, wow, that's kind of a problem there. Well, $100, you know, maybe if it was $50, I'd take the problem, you know, the possibility of the problem. You know, it is what it is. It's still a $100 knife. It's just that design of that pocket clip is just something to be very conscious of. You do not want to ruin your pants. It's a bad day. However, it's a really cool knife, and it's a little more capable than your average EDC knife, having the glass breaker there, which is really neat. You know, and the strap cutter option does work very well. It's just how often are you cutting straps compared to clipping it to your pocket? You know what I'm saying? I think the priority here really is that pocket clip. So, you know, I don't know if they designed it tip down. What would you guys say? I don't want it, it's tip down. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's a tricky situation. I think knife industry as a whole, they know that people like their tip up. It's just like, it's become a thing. Now, back in the 90s when I was into knives, you know, half the knives were tip up, half the knives were tip down. I mean, it was a cool thing to have a pocket clip. Pocket clips were still somewhat new. Don't forget, Spyderco came up with the idea of the pocket clip way back when, and everyone utilizes them because it's a fantastic idea. But in the early mid-90s, it was still somewhat of a new idea. It took about a decade or so before people realized, well, I kind of like tip up more because then the blade's against the seam and it's not going to actually open in the pot. Like tip down, people's concern is that the knife's going to open up in their pocket. But when it's tip up, all right, not only that, but also how you're grabbing your knife. So if you're grabbing, and I did a whole video on this a while back. I don't really care, tip up, tip down. I do have a little bit of a preference for tip down. I think that's not because I actually have a preference. I think it's just because most knives are set up for, or excuse me, I said tip down, I meant tip up. So at this point, if you're thoroughly confused, I'm gonna go over and try that again. So what I was trying to say is that I don't care if it's tip up or tip down because I just grab the knife differently. On tip down knives, I use a pinch grip and I pull it out of the pocket like that and I'm fine. I'm already in the grip that I need to be in to open and use a knife. But for most of you guys, you do like this overhand grab to pull your knife out to be in the same grip, you know what I'm saying? So if you use that pinch grip, well, now the knife's upside down. That's not very helpful. I guess in this case, because it's assisted, I can just kind of flip that open like that, and I'm in reverse grip, but that's not what I'm looking for. So tip up, tip down, doesn't matter to me, but obviously, again, the preference is having that tip up for a lot of people. And there's a couple reasons, again, especially with an assisted knife, if it opens up in the pocket, it's not really gonna open up far because generally speaking, people carry their knives all the way to the right side of the pocket if you're a righty. So it's right by that seam. So that really is a non-concern, but also if you're tending to dip down like this, then obviously as you pull your knife out, you're already in that position to open it and use it. So the last thing I think, not this knife specifically, but also there's a concern for comfort. On a tip-up knife, when you're dipping in the pocket, the side of your hand is usually rubbing the side of your knife, okay, depending on how big your pockets are. But rubbing the back of a knife is usually more comfortable than if it, let's say it's tipped down and rubbing the spine of the blade. Because a lot of times you have jimping on it, so that could be rough on your hand. If you're just going in, who knows what you have in your pocket. You have a Zippo in there or some pocket change or whatever, rubbing the side of your knife. I mean, that's another reason why people like having a tip-up carry because, again, generally speaking, the back of the knife close is fairly smooth and comfortable compared to, the back of the blade. So that's a lot of stuff that we've gone over here. It is a really cool knife. It's a very usable knife. It's something you can rely on day in and day out. Has a couple bonus features, but you're going to have to get over, in my opinion, the major concern of clipping this inside your pocket every day and not cutting your pants. You just have to be careful. Now you can get material in there and not actually cut. I mean, it can wrap in there about 1/8 of an inch, and nothing's going to happen. But once it makes contact with that very sharp edge, even if it cuts one little, tiny thread, it could slowly unravel your pants, you know what I mean? Or just the edge, well then from use, it's gonna open up and it's just, I don't know. It's just a bad design, but they didn't have that many options. They know that people want tip up. So there's a lot of pressure there, I think. I think the industry really does create a lot of pressure with this whole tip up thing. If they did this tip down, people would just complain that it's tip down. I hate tip down, I don't want that, forget it. But now it's tip up, but I hate that. I don't want that, I mean, to each their own. Like I said, if I were to end up keeping this one, which is awesome, I would actually keep it, but unfortunately I have to constantly rotate knives out with the old and with the new. That's how I keep the channel going. Constant knife content is trading. But if I were to keep this one, that pocket clip would come off. I'd either throw a functional lanyard on here, have it loose in the pocket. Or I would keep the pocket clip on and keep this as a cool backup knife, like I said, clipped to a molly strap on a piece of gear or bag or something. But anyway, that is it for now. That is the SOG Trident AT-XR. It is a very cool, interesting upgrade from the old one with a major issue or concern. But for some people, not everyone's gonna have a problem with that. I know when this video is released and everyone sees it, most of the comments are gonna be, that's stupid, why'd they do that, and blah, blah, blah. But everyone is entitled to their opinion. I know there's still plenty of people out there buying these knives and loving these knives. So ultimately, when I'm doing, a video on a knife or something, there's no bias here. It's supposed to be just general information so you guys can form your own opinions. Obviously, I share my experiences and stuff, but on a personal level, I would not trade for or buy this knife again in the future because for me, this issue is a deal breaker. But I do want to just mention that for a lot of people, they just don't care. You have to be conscious of that when you're putting this in your pocket or wherever you're clipping it to. Just look down, take 2 seconds out of your day when you're putting this knife away to make sure you're not going to accidentally cut your pants. If you're cool with that, this is an awesome knife. But I have a feeling a lot of people would not be cool with that. It's just something that they're not used to doing and might get kind of lackadaisical about it. Maybe you do it for the first week and then you just kind of forget it, whatever, clip it to your pocket and I really should have looked down, so it's a concern enough for me. So that's it for now. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day and I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.